In a CNA-exclusive joint interview, President-elect Joe Biden said that he would keep his commitment to putting together a cabinet that looks like the country. Listen to this.
Look, I'm going to be announcing the remaining 15 members of the cabinet. The first 8 members are the most diverse cabinet anyone in American history has ever announced. There are three white men. There are 3 men. There are 5 women. There are 5 people of color, 3 white people. I mean, this is going to be an incredibly diverse. I'm going to keep my commitment that the administration, both in the White House and outside in the cabinet, is going to look like the country.
Last month, Senator Bernie Sanders told the Associated Press it would be, quote, enormously insulting if your cabinet, the Biden-Harris cabinet, ignored progressive voices. Who would you point to now as a leading progressive voice in the cabinet?
Well, we're not done yet, Jake, so we're not even halfway there. So I think that we should have this conversation when we're done.
This comes as the NAACP and other civil rights groups have come forward to say that Biden and Harris haven't done enough yet in terms of this, putting a lot of public pressure now on the president-elect to nominate more Black and Latino nominees to high-level cabinet positions. Joining me right now is Angela Rye, CNN political commentator, the former executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus. It is great to see you. It has been way too long. We only say hi to each other in text and on Instagram these days, which is so, it's getting old. So I spoke to Derek Johnson, the president of NAACP, yesterday about this, and he said that yes, he's concerned about the makeup of the cabinet, but what it's really about for him, he says, is about civil rights being at the center of the administration's agenda. What did you think about how Biden is answering this question right now?
Well, I think that, the answer is not as important as the action, right? And so what we have is throughout this process, Kate, whether we look at the transition agency review teams, there's nobody from an HBCU on the agency review teams. There is no civil rights leader, no civil rights organizer on any of the agency review teams. I think hence President Derek Johnson's concerns. I think the other thing that we have to pay attention to is they have some buckets that they've outlined things. There's climate, there's COVID, there's economics and the economy, what the path forward is for the country in that regard, and then there's racial justice. And they've made significant inroads on all of those things except for when you start talking about racial justice. I appreciate the fact that Joe Biden has expanded what the cabinet will look like. We know Cecilia Rouse, who is a Black woman and will be the chair for the Council on Economic Advisors, will be cabinet level. We know that Linda Thomas Greenfield will be the ambassador to the UN. However, when you start talking about some of those traditional cabinet posts, people are getting a little afraid because they know what the makeup of the transition agency review teams has been. And we certainly understand that when they rolled out their senior level staff for the White House, there were a lot of white men. And so I appreciate that Joe Biden wants the cabinet to reflect the face of America, but I would actually challenge him and say the cabinet needs to reflect the face of your electorate. Your electorate was more diverse than the country. Your electorate in the primary and in the general was overwhelmingly Black women and Black men. And so I want to hear about the Attorney General. I want to hear about Marsha Fudge becoming the Agriculture Secretary. I'm happy to hear about Keisha Lance Bottoms potentially for the SBA. But we've got to hear a lot more of these positions and really soon.
You know, there's also, you make a great point, but there's also an interesting moment that I wanted to ask you about. When Jake asked Joe Biden about the inauguration, the issues that you're talking about are much bigger than this, but it is interesting how Joe Biden answered this question, because he was asked about the fact that President Trump hasn't yet said if he'll attend. Listen.
Do you think it's important that he's there? You're laughing.
I think it would important only in one sense, not in a personal sense, important in the sense that we are able to demonstrate at the end of this chaos that he's created that there is peaceful transfer of power with the competing parties standing there, shaking hands and moving on.
Do you think it's important for Donald Trump to be there?
You know, it's so interesting. Can any of us get through this question without laughing?
Why are you laughing about it?
Because I was watching Kamala's face and she's trying to hold it together, and then Joe Biden. It's just it's actually not funny. What I think is ridiculous, and maybe that's why I'm laughing, is that we even have to have this conversation, Kate. Right? Like, at some point, you would think that he would mature. Not as a commander-in-chief, but just as an adult. At some point, you would just hope that for him. And I think that, frankly, he might end up being a distraction. So even the question, in addition to the nervous laugh I just offered, I feel a little anxiety. Like, what is he going to do there? Is he going to be making faces like the class clown that he is? Like, I shouldn't name call this early, Kate. I don't know that that would be a good idea for him to attend, but it would break all kinds of like norms.
I know. Honestly,
what do you think, Kate?
I think Joe Biden's answer was telling in that I think the way that he's trying to bring down the temperature constantly and how he's watching his wording so much, I think that is most noteworthy. I have no time, but I have one question I want to ask you about, because you are very focused on the Senate runoff race in Georgia. We have new reporting that there are some big name Republicans in Georgia that are concerned about what the president might say or do when he's heading down there for a rally tomorrow to rally Republicans. They're concerned, his focus on the lies about fraud could be potentially suppressing voter turnout. What do you think this means for Democrats? I mean, are you happy that Donald Trump is coming down to Georgia tomorrow?
I'm sorry. I'm actually not happy no matter where Donald Trump goes. But I will say this. What I'm most concerned about is that as a Black woman, and knowing how much work I did in the general, as a Black woman and having sister friends who are working diligently on that race in Georgia, what is most important to me, no matter how people vote, Kate, is that they know the importance of their votes, and they know that they can hopefully trust in the electoral process. And so anyone who's undermining that is a tremendous problem. But taking this full circle back to where we started, Black women are going to be working really hard on that runoff. And just like we're expected to win those elections, we need to be in positions of power in this administration so that we can help Joe Biden and Kamala Harris achieve their mission. And we can't do that without a Senate. So that's the most important thing. Go vote, Georgia.
This is artful. The circle back that you just did, that's called professional. I'm very impressed. Angela, it's good to see you. Bye, darling. Thank you. Ahead for us, the economic recovery is slowing.